Delhi's terrible air pollution continues to make global headlines. Many are demanding that GRAP 4, which is a short-term emergency response system, can be implemented so that the high levels of air pollution actually reduce. But does it save lives? Does air pollution come down? Let's take a look. I'll show some relevant data from two sources, a government report and a Lancet Health Journal study. And then you decide for yourself and see what are the questions it raises. Is this data good enough? There are, of course, ongoing studies, but there is a lot of analysis that has already been done by various experts. Now, GRAP is the Graded Response Action Plan that's usually implemented from October to March in Delhi and neighboring cities and districts. And there are 4 stages to it, with increasingly higher and more stringent curbs, beginning with curbs on things like diesel, gensets, and coal and wood, and going on to curbs on diesel vehicles when air pollution hits severe plus. So let's first take a look at the government study. The details of the study are in the description below. Now, what the study says is that for GRAP 2, the reduction in AQI has been roughly limited to under 10 AQI units or air quality index units. So a fairly negligible reduction in air pollution. And the reason the report says this is understandable is as GRAP 2 is mainly implemented on a suggestive basis, with restrictions mainly put on the diesel generator set and coal-based cooking activities in eateries and restaurants. Essentially, there are not enough curbs to reduce pollution substantially. GRAP 3, however, includes a ban on construction and demolition activities, mining activities, not just in Delhi, but the whole of what's known as the NCR National Capital Region, so the Delhi neighborhood. And this is estimated to reduce AQI by around 30 to 60 units in the city of Delhi. And for GRAP 4, the highest level of GRAP, the total reduction in AQI due to the implementation of this level is estimated to be around 80 to 100 units. So to recap, the reduction in AQI because of GRAP 2 is about 10 units. The reduction of AQI according to GRAP 3 is about 30 to 60 units. And the total reduction in AQI due to GRAP 4 is about 80 to 100 units because this is the level that has the most severe curbs on pollution sources. Now, the GRAP 4 restrictions, which mainly include bans on the diesel-driven vehicles in Delhi and bordering districts, are estimated to be very useful, the report says, in reducing the ambient air quality index or the AQI in the city. So the government report says, without the implementation of GRAP restrictions, the severe AQIRs could have experienced a 2/3 increase and the severe plus AQIRs might have nearly doubled. So it's a critical help. Now, before we look at the lives saved or not saved, let's look at school children because it's absolutely crucial that GRAP works for them. They have young developing lungs and PM 2.5, that fine particulate pollutant, really affects them, not just in the short term, but in long-term development also, both physical and cognitive. Curbs on schools only start as late as GRAP 3, when younger kids, the ones till grade 5, can switch to a hybrid mode, that is virtual classes where feasible. So it's optional, depending on the local conditions. And this hybrid mode of education of holding classes extends to all grades when the air quality worsens to severe plus, which is when GRAP 4 is supposed to start. All this happens when the AQI crosses 400. But at that level, the PM 2.5 is already above 120 micrograms per cubic meter, which is a huge amount, 24 times higher than the WHO's safe guidelines. Now, coming to the lives saved, the government report studies 2 years, 2022 and 23, and the winter of 23-24. The pyramid shapes that you see are the number of days under GRAP. So the biggest block is at the base, which is GRAP 1, then GRAP 2, GRAP 3, and GRAP 4. And as you can see, the fewest days are spent in GRAP 4. And that's important because we'll see the number of lives saved is the highest there, even though the number of days is the fewest. Of the 2 years, the higher number of deaths avoided are in the 23-24 winter. Almost 300 lives were saved when GRAP 4 was introduced, on top of GRAP 3 and 2. Now, the key phrase over here is short-term deaths. Technically, that's been called avoided short-term excess mortality. And this is important because it shows that even small or short-term spikes in air pollution can cause problems such as heart attacks and strokes. Now, most of the lives saved are in the younger age group, 5 to 44, which spans quite a few years, of course. But this is possibly because their exposure to hazardous levels may be a lot more. Now, this data suggests more days of GRAP, especially GRAP 3 and 4, means more lives saved. If we compare the 2 years, it shows that more lives were saved in the 23-24 winter than the previous year. And the reason mentioned is important, so I'll read it out. The analysis underscores the importance of continued and enhanced application of GRAP measures to further protect public health in the face of seasonal air quality challenges. Now, this is important because it means that the government scientists are backing GRAP as something that will help save lives. You may recall that the government of India has frequently in Parliament said that there is no conclusive evidence which links air pollution to deaths. But here we have government scientists showing or establishing a direct correlation. Now, the other reason why this is important is because of the demands by various groups and people to impose GRAP 4 in Delhi and the pushback from the authorities. It has to be noted that this is, of course, a complex subject balancing economic activities with public health. But now let's compare the highest number of lives saved versus another source, the Lancet studies. This was a study published about a year or two ago based on a decade-long study of 10 Indian cities. It found that short-term spikes led to almost 12,000 deaths in Delhi alone. But let's try and simplify this a bit further. Let's take a look at the government report, which shows that 297 lives were saved in the winter of 23-24 versus the Lancet, which says about 12,000 deaths happen per year. According to the Lancet's numbers, that's about 32 deaths a day, probably more in winter when pollution levels are at hazardous levels. However, the deaths saved because of GRAP is about 1.6 deaths avoided per day. Now, all this raises a few critical questions. For example, if more GRAP 4 can save more lives, should it not be imposed more? If GRAP 4 can save lives in New Delhi, can it not be extended to other cities? But on the other hand, should GRAP be revised totally because it does not do enough to protect school kids going to school when PM 2.5 pollution level tends to be alarmingly high at extremely hazardous levels? The main question then should be, can we now have a GRAP which actually protects school kids, as they especially are the most vulnerable? Let me know in the comments what your response to these questions are. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you are outside Delhi, and of course, if you are in Delhi like me. I'm Chetan Bhattacharji, a longtime journalist, and I'm now trying to simplify the science and solutions around air pollution and climate change.